Good evening, Jatan.
Hey there.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay at the moment. Just happy that the evening is here, really mild day to day. So, yeah. Um, I'm not quite sure how many people will be kind of practicing with us tonight. So, I'll give it until 7:15 and then we'll start, if that's okay with
Okay,
you.
that's perfect. I was gonna ask you if it was okay if I stepped away for a couple minutes, but I'll be here.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Okay, Jatan, have you returned?
Yes, I'm back.
Hmm. Hi, here I am.
Hey there.
Good evening. So, how was your day today?
It was really nice. I felt like the times that I was out and about, I kind of feel like everyone's making a point to be kinder to each other.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've noticed that, but I've been picking up on that in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I feel like people are definitely a bit more compassionate. I think all of us have our own experiences behind these masks, but we can really relate to each other. Everywhere you go, um, I think there's an awareness of loss in some ways, and in all of the ways. Like you don't know exactly what people have lost, uh,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's employment or resources or their home or loved ones, but everyone went through this together. And so I think that collective experience has softened people a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I always think about my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and she was, during that treatment, a very different version of herself,
Mm.
and just kinder and gentler and more
Mm.
accessible. Um, and then when she went into remission, so did her compassion a little bit.
Mm.
So her her uh, her health, when she was her most unhealthiest and healing, seemed to um, I don't want to say trick her, but I, I I think it was the fear of things going bad that made her want to try really hard to be good. You know?
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then uh, when health was more still, there's this freedom in this space to move in
Mm.
ways that are uh, less in alignment with your bigger version.
Right.
I got time, you know.
Yeah.
It's funny, people say I ain't got time for that, or I got time today. And
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, as we get out of this and get to a different place, will that be a collective experience as well? Like the
Mm.
get away
Mm-hmm.
from this shared experience, how it is,
Mm-hmm.
the the more challenging we'll just revert back to our natural habits, which is to
Mm.
um, assume everything is against us, um,
Mm.
demand no discomfort, you know what I mean?
Right.
Uh, not see the realities of what's behind someone's life, from in a moment, whether they cut you off in traffic or they snatch a parking spot, like we make up these stories about why someone's being rude or even what rude is.
Right.
uh, so for me, that's going to be interesting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
are is this going to stick, or is it just going to kind of dissolve? Which is really weird to think about, how we as a society have more empathy
Mm-hmm.
when there's more suffering. There's clearly no escape from suffering, right?
Mm.
With no escape from suffering, we kind of surrender to, we got to help each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we capitalize off of suffering just in our economy. And that's okay. Like it's this weird energy economy that kind of watching as a yogi is just curious.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no problem. It's been
So
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have this space to ourselves, and I really want to give you an opportunity to ask me questions. We will have a practice, um, but I wanted to just open myself up to sharing with you what it is that is kind of in your heart, whether it's about
Sure.
the practice or particular um, questions about using your practice. Um, and so before we get into that, let's give ourselves a little bit of centering and grounding.
Definitely. Let me change seats.
Sure, take your time. And the purpose of us centering and grounding is to bring us to this present moment and to give us an opportunity to let go of the moments we've already lived and detach from the thoughts of the future and honor where we are right now. And so a good way to do that is to breathe where your feet are grounded, right? And so what does that mean? And how do you do that? You do that by using your breath. Your feet are here and your breath is in this body right here, right now. And so begin to turn your attention to your evening breath. As you do that, follow it in and out. Become aware of where your thoughts are. Are your thoughts kind of rapid and moving quickly across your mind's eye? Do you feel easily pulled out of this connecting with your breath? Sometimes that happens when you have unresolved tension or something really big that is going on in your life and you're processing. But when we do that just innately and let our thoughts take over, we're not living consciously, we're not living mindfully. And so as you breathe right here, right now, give yourself permission to let go of any thoughts or distractions easily. As they come, you easily let them go. And ground yourself in the truth that you are exactly where you need to be. And if there feels like a looming threat, like a thing that you feel you have to think about right now, lovingly take that thing and place it on an imaginary shelf. Maybe even put it in a pretty, pretty box. Inviting yourself to shelf it or table it just for a few moments. Knowing that when you come back to it, you'll have fresh eyes, fresh ears. But letting it rest. And knowing that you just didn't discard it or throw it away. But you're readying yourself, preparing yourself to engage with it on your terms and from your heart. Let your breath move a little deeper into your belly. And slowly begin to turn back to your natural breath. Observe any shifts that have happened for you. acknowledge what brought you to practice this evening. Let some gratitude begin to emerge from your heart for your protection of your practice tonight. And let any thoughts, concerns, considerations of what it is you think your experience will be this evening begin to float away. Instead of looking for a particular thing, be open to what you receive. And slowly opening your eyes and coming back, drinking in the space. And again, welcome to our evening session. In Sojatem, in our lineage, we have something called satsang. And in satsang, it's a series of conversations and questions and practices. Much of it is determined by the energy in the space. Sometimes there's a thing that we focus on. And for our sessions, it's liberation, which can mean a lot of different things at different times. But we also have this really amazing practice and experiences with our practice that sometimes can be a bit confusing. And coming together with the Sangha gives us access to wisdom abound. Other people's questions can liberate new thoughts of ours. And so if you have any reflections or questions that you would like to ask, please feel free. I teach at Haji, and we have a monthly theme, and this month is a parigraha, the last of the yamas in the Yoga Sutras. And the parigraha is the practice of non-attachment. And I couldn't have paired a better yama even with this practice. Like, who knew that I will be leading a BIPOC liberation session the same month as our focus on non-attachment? It seems quite serendipitous. And often in our lives, we are very confused between what it is that we should hold on to and what it is that we should let go of. And sometimes it isn't so easy to discern who's doing the holding and the letting go. If it's us, our consciousness, or if it's our ego.
Yes.
And so, love attached or living attached, Baba says the root of suffering is attachment. The root of suffering is attachment. We're attached to things and to people. We're attached to the belief that happiness comes only with comfort, that joy is only experienced when life is favorable, that the things in our life, the people in our life, the people that are out of our life are the reason for the state of our being. Not how we feel, but really who we are at our core is determined by what is there, how it's there, how it arrives, how it leaves. And the first time I was introduced to the idea that the root of suffering is attachment from the sutras, I thought, well, what the hell am I supposed to want then? Like, I thought that that's what life was about, was
Right.
following your heart.
Going for what you want.
Yeah, but who am I and what is the want? Like, it's confusing because do I really want that thing? If so, how do I know?
Right.
And how do you know the difference between a want and a heartfelt desire?
Mm.
How do you know that the thing that you are seeking is in alignment with your wishes to grow?
Mm.
How do you know the people that you've invited in or the people that you're willing to let go is the right thing to do, even in how you handle it? And so it can be tricky when you're living from strategy, right? When you're living risk averse, pain averse, discomfort averse, as if our growth or healing or leveling up or this kind of awakening of consciousness only happens through ways that feel really, really good. And that's not true. That our awakening of our consciousness happens, or the liberation of our consciousness happens in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And even as meditators and yogis, we practice to be reminded that all is for our favor. All in our life is an invitation to practice, whether it is a person or a thing, an event, that we can be reminded. And that's really the complexity of being a human, because we always forget that we are divine. We always forget that we have discernment and wisdom and intuition. We always forget that that little voice inside of ourselves is our consciousness and does help us tremendously if we know how to turn up the volume. Most often we look to our thoughts to guide us. But last week, I introduced the reality, as far as my lineage is concerned, with the sutras, that there are 5 states of consciousness, and your thoughts move through them. And so some thoughts are memories, some thoughts are fantasies, some thoughts are inaccurate and incomplete, other thoughts are one's anchored in correct understanding, right? And if we let our thoughts dictate our actions, unaware that our imagination is in control, we've just brought something to life. It's like being Dr. Frankenstein, piecing things together, using our energy to zap it to life and move it out into the tangible world with our words and our ways. So we bring absolute fantasy to life. And sometimes there's not agreement. Other people are bringing their fantasies to life. And we're living the same moments, but we don't have the same memories. We don't have the same experiences. And that tension we see can scale up collectively. Because look at our homes and relationships. We live in the same house with people, our siblings, for example, raised by the same parents. We don't have the same stories. We remember the road trip. I remember it like this. You remember it like that. I'm telling the truth. You're telling the truth. So can both of them be real and true at the same time? And often, as people who are unaware, we believe that there's only one truth. And that's the one that we believe. Like that's the only caveat, right? It's what we believe to be true is true. That's it. And we argue things that we can't even disprove. I have two daughters, and they were arguing so much about the weather. It was really ridiculous. One was saying it was hot outside. I don't need a jacket. The other said it's cold outside, and we do. Little. But it had come to yelling and screaming. Just off of, no, you don't need a jacket. Yes, you do. And I got so furious. And it was early in my practice. And I said, hey, what if both of you were right? And they were like, no. I said, well, let me tell you the difference between fact and truth. I said, London, I said, fact. It's 63 degrees Fahrenheit. We can prove that. We have ways of proving that. And each of you trusts the science to prove that it's 63 degrees Fahrenheit. They got it. It's 63 degrees Fahrenheit outside right now. London, you feel 63 degrees Fahrenheit as cool. So for you, a jacket makes sense. Keegan, you feel 63 degrees Fahrenheit as hot. And a jacket is not needed in your opinion. I said, so there's no way for either of you to be wrong. They were so pissed at me because it wasn't about finding a way for each of us to be right. It was, I want her to be wrong. The other was willing to be wrong if I could prove the other one wrong as well. It was a very twisted, it was a lot of mental gymnastics for a little kid, but you can see how that type of thinking over the years can kind of solidify and how it could come into conflict with things in a romantic relationship or as a business owner or as a neighbor, your unwillingness to allow multiple things to be true at the same time. Your want isn't to not be wrong. Your want is for others to never be right. That's what you're attached to. You're not attached to like, I don't care if I'm right. I'm just saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're attached to reminding others that they don't know and they can't teach us. It's a very weird way to be a human instead of being open to listening for someone else's experience. And it's still a struggle for them to accept that both can be true at the same time. That is very uncomfortable. So we're both right. I can't say that you're wrong. There is no hierarchy of rightness. It is, what do I do with that? Because right and wrong has been introduced as a way to tell who's better, right? Things that are, when you get it wrong, it's a bad thing, right? Our relationship to right and wrong creates some of these tensions. Our attachment to never wanting to be seen as less than or seen as unaware or seen as, capable of folly or inaccuracy. Like our attachment to wanting others to never see us as less than creates this holding on of, I always want to have the space to say you're wrong, even though I don't care if I'm right. So this practice of non-attachment, this practice of reminding ourselves who we are, what we want, why we want it, is really valuable. Because after, understanding that the root of suffering is attachment, Baba says, when you are tired of suffering, surrender.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Surrender.
So earlier I had the mute button on. You asked me about reflections and questions. I apologize. So I did have a reflection that is going to lead to a question, maybe two questions. Let me see if I can get it out. So, first of all, thank you. Everything you're saying is resonating with me so much. Especially separating like our desires from wants. I would love to hear your insight on that, because that's kind of the biggest conflict I have right now in terms of refining or defining what my purpose is. But let me start just by saying, I started coming to this with the event that was about 2 weeks ago. I keep mispronouncing her name, but Sinabi Selassie. I'm mispronouncing her name, but anyways, I have to mention that because I just feel like I've been on a journey since that event. The quarantine has given me a deeper relationship or a better relationship to meditation. Like I've meditated off and on my entire life, but I didn't get really serious about it until the quarantine, where it became something that I came close to doing every day. But since the last event, I started listening to a lot of her meditations on YouTube. And just in that event, I felt a weight of the meditation session that I had never experienced, a depth. It just took me somewhere. And so I was just trying to replicate that. And next thing I know, I'm not smoking anymore. I was smoking every day. I have a really stressful job. And I just have to tell someone that, because that's like a huge accomplishment for me. That's something huge for me. And even better than that, I think I'm just getting deeper into my practice, which was going to be my next question, because like I was saying earlier, my interactions with other people are becoming more positive. It's just amazing how people reflect you. Because I'm feeling better, everyone around me is in a better disposition or a better mood, and it's just delightful for the most part. It's not perfect, but I sense like a huge significant change, and that's why I'm committed to keep coming back and growing. So this leads me to my next question. How do you get deeper into your practice, or how did you get deeper into your practice, or how are you getting deeper into your practice? I guess it just takes repetition.
Thank you for sharing. I think all of us that have found ourselves here in this place with this practice, have similar stories, right? Like there's a moment in which there's a sit or a chant or an asana where it's like, huh, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I I get it.
Yeah. Took a lifetime, but I get it.
Yeah, and it was unsolicited, right? Unexpected,
Totally unexpected.
but the choices and the things that happened that brought us to the moment, you know, we already had this thing happening in our hearts, like to get us to that place. And we've probably been at more often than we even remember, right? Because the curse of being a human is to always forget that you're divine. Always forget. And so I'm going to share a story that will lead me into the response. Do you know about the half God, half human Hanuman? Okay.
No.
So Hanuman is king of the monkeys. His mother was a human and she couldn't get pregnant. She would bow down every day underneath the open skies with her hands spread like this on her lap, which means I am ready to receive what is for me and equally willing to let it go at the same time. And she prayed and prayed and prayed for a baby. Well, the wind god, Vishnu, took pity on her and he dropped a grain of rice from the heavens and it fell into the palm of her hand. And she knew anything that came from the heavens came from the gods. And so she ate it and she immediately got pregnant. And when she birthed the baby, this baby was magical, right? Because his dad is the wind god. So the baby was just rambunctious and could do things like get big and get little. He could leap off of earth. So as a toddler, he looks up at the sun and he thinks he sees a mango. So he leaps off of earth to take a bite out of Surya, the sun god. And Surya's like, I'm not having this. No baby's gonna bite me. So Surya takes a lightning bolt, throws it at the baby, breaks the baby's jaw. Baby goes tumbling to earth, kills the toddler. His father, the wind god, is furious. So the wind god and the sun god are now fighting in heaven, ruining earth, right? And so Shiva steps in and says, hey, we have to solve this problem. Let's make a deal. Let's bring the baby back to life. And the wind god said, perfect. Surya said, nah, only if, number one, he can never live with the humans again, make him a monkey. They agreed. He said, number two, he can never remember that he is a god. Never. He can keep all of his powers. He can never remember them. Everyone agreed. They sent him off to live with the monkeys, and he became king of the monkeys. Hanuman's story is so real because you ask, how do you deepen your practice? Especially when you can't remember how to live your practice or that your practice is all around you. You said something that this lightness is making others, right? I would invite you to be curious about, has your practice opened up your eyes to seeing what was always there?
Absolutely.
Our presence doesn't, yes, energy is real, but it's interesting that if you're living like this, this is pre-meditation.
Yes.
Everything's dark.
Yes.
Every damn thing. Turn on the
Yeah.
light, still dark, right?
Yeah.
Everybody got shadows. And then slowly, as I take them off, things are clear.
Yeah.
And I see things as they are. I see people as they are. I
Yeah.
see situations as they are. I'm not adding on to the story. I'm not seeing the darkness, even though I know it's there. I am seeing the lightness, and there's balance, right? If it was really bright outside, this would make sense, right? Like, I can see clearly, the sun is not in my eyes. So balance is knowing when the practice is putting them on and the practice is taking them off. Right? We have veils. It isn't that, and it isn't that people are all bad or all good. We're all like finding our way. And I feel as when you're a meditator, you're more inclined to go inward for the lightness than expect it to come from anywhere else, which makes everything sweeter. When you come into a room expecting love and kindness and compassion, you are surely to be let down. When you are your source of love, kindness, and compassion into a room, it feels like it's everywhere because it is. Because all is you, right? There's no need to outsource and seek. And not only that, but it overflows. So in a tense conversation, your practice has filled you so much that even your angry words are sweet. Even your frustration is healing, right? Like how we move then becomes the light we shine. We don't contribute to the tension. We also don't believe that it is us who is responsible for dissolving it. We don't move in a way that's like, oh, I protect my energy. We know that our practice has given us ways in which to live consciously, ways in which we can listen and be and take what serves us and leave the rest. It's why we can have a conversation with someone that takes a jab at us personally, but stay focused on the task at hand and let it roll off. They didn't win, but we know that a less mindful person doesn't have the same way of communicating and articulating. We don't waste our time trying to chastise and direct and tell people how to communicate. We simply listen for what they mean by what they say. Surrender. I completely let go of my preferences for the words you use, the order they come out, and the tone you take. Because however you're showing up is the best you got right now. And if I know that, then I can use my practice to filter through all of that other muck and stuff that your ego is throwing from you, because you're not even choosing that. You don't know how not to choose it, and I know that. So I'm going to let my grace exist and stay connected to what is real and true, correct understanding, not all of the other ego stuff and anger. Moments where I am reminded that I'm bigger inspire me to deepen my practice. Moments where I'm able to display to myself that I can experience pain and trauma and not become pain and trauma get me like, oh, I want to go back because this feels good. It feels good to suffer with grace.
Yes.
It's a little uncomfortable because misery does love company. And when you begin to deepen your practice and become self-reflective and have your sangha to keep you energized in spiritual ways, how you reach out to others changes. The stories that you tell, your frustrations, the things that have happened in your day, don't come out the same way. And so as you create these ways of being, other people fall off. And that can be confusing when, if you talk to, I had a best friend, a couple of best friends, every morning we would be on the phone before work, just talking. And it was usually about men, kids, and money. It was about, F these dudes, F these kids, and we need money. Like that was, and this was the cycle. And we would dump on each other, right? And so I can remember mornings where I wasn't doing so good. And my best friend would call me and I couldn't even get a good morning out before she was like, this dude, this, my baby daddy, this. And it's like my trash, if you live in a house, you have a trash can with your address on it. Anybody ever put trash in your trash can? You're like, okay, I have no more room. So she would dump all her garbage in my garbage can. It would overflow because mine's is in there also. Hers is now empty, right? I'm a trash collector. And so when I learned that my practice helps me keep my lid closed, right? People aren't just dumping their trash in when they want to. You got to find somewhere else to dump it. And I've learned how to recycle and compost. So my trash can isn't overflowing with paper waste or with organic matter, that I'm able to move things in certain ways that it can return to the earth. And now I don't have a lot of garbage.
And how do you do that? Through meditation?
Yes. I have so much trash. I have so many trash thoughts. I have so many hurtful habits. I have conflicting patterns in my life. And my practice has made me aware of those. And so the sutras have really helped. The first sutra, the sutras have helped, but the yamas and the niyamas have really been grounding. The first one is ahimsa, do no harm. And what does that mean, right? There's harm that we do in so many ways to others and to ourselves. I worked with that yama for about 5 years because doing no harm doesn't mean being walked over, doesn't mean surrendering and being a doormat. Like that's not what being a yogi and a meditator is. We move mindfully and we will strike, but it isn't self-serving, right? Not protecting yourself is violating ahimsa, right? But there's a difference between karma, like the karma of living, because us living creates disharmony in ways that it's supposed to be created, right? There's balance in life and death, right? And an example is you're walking down the street and you see a mound, anthill. You see it and you purposely put your foot on it and you grind it into the ground and you keep walking. That's causing harm. You're a runner and you're running on the path and there are mounds everywhere. And you happen to step on a few as you move across the space. You didn't cause intentional harm. They are where they are. You are where they are. Sometimes there is no avoiding, and that is the karma. The clash, the bang, the boom has to happen, right? No birth is without some pain. How we get to the places in our life requires some destruction in other ways. But again, it's about balance and intention. And so working with ahimsa has given me the tools to ask myself, how do I cause harm? Right. The next one is asteya, truthfulness. Right. And what does that mean? The yamas build on each other. And so you start off with doing no harm. And then the next one is truthfulness. Right. So I've found myself diving deeper because I really, really wish to live consciously, not fearfully, right? Not always forgetting that I have these ways in which I can live a better life. See, meditation gives us the tools to live a better human experience, right? So that our moments are not stolen by things that we can't control.
Yes.
Right? Like we're literally living right now in a moment where all is well. All of our needs are met. We are sheltered, we are clean, we have fresh water, our bellies are not, growling with hunger. And every choice we made have brought us to this point, even whatever suffering that we have. We're fine. And yet and still, we can be in a space in our head that completely shades the reality of the current moment.
That reminds me of something that's commonly said by people on their deathbed is that they wish they had been more present.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first heard that, it took me a while to kind of wrap my brain around it. But I think that's exactly what they mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's say your supervisor has scheduled a meeting with you Monday morning, late Friday, right? And you don't know what this meeting is about. You speculate. Maybe it's your wedding anniversary this weekend. Your child has a violin recital, and your cousin is coming into town that you haven't seen in over 10 years. So many wonderful moments to live.
Yes.
But you are already living Monday over and over and over, even before it exists. You are creating what ifs. What if that? What if this? You're at the violin recital talking about, oh, they're going to fire me. You're not present. You're not letting the music inspire you. You're 36 hours into the future, creating a narrative that you don't even know is real or true.
Right.
Living it as it is in your moment and forfeiting making any memories. So that 1 hour meeting costs you 96 hours. It's not an hour meeting anymore. It's 96 hours of your life that you just gave away. Forgetting to let me place this anxiety in a box because I'm here at the recital. Let me place this anxiety in a box and really hold my cousin and smell her perfume. Like it smells like, oh, this is Granny's perfume. I remember the biscuits she used to make. Let's make biscuits. Right? We don't let our present moment bring us the sweetness. We live it and we're like, oh, we're gone.
Right.
And we then live life like fortune tellers, right? We speculate what's going to happen and we wait for it to happen. And 9 times out of 10, we are wrong.
Mhm.
The meeting goes favorably and you got a raise. 96 hours of being afraid, 96 hours of lost opportunities. And you don't even acknowledge that you were wrong. You
Mhm.
let the joy of that moment completely erase that you had let yourself go. And maybe I don't want to do that anymore. Maybe I want to hold on to my moments and wait until a new moment arrives to let it live, to let it show me what it is instead of me telling it what it's going to be. Because the the trick of the mind is that even when we go to that meeting, if we've already decided what it's going to be, it doesn't matter what it is. We already defined it as hurtful. So it doesn't matter if it's not. We literally created the moment, we created what it means. So it doesn't even have its own autonomy. And the more I practice and see how I protect my mind, we say yoga is the uniting of consciousness and the heart, where I can see that I am hurting myself. I am responsible for hurting myself. I am responsible for um, the way in which my life feels right now. I am responsible for making the decisions that have brought me to this space. No one forced me, no one coerced me. I was living unconsciously.
Yes.
And so I also have learned to touch upon forgiveness for myself, because when you become more aware that you are the reason why you feel like you do, it can push you away from the practice. It's too
Mm.
real. It's too real. You could also purge in a way that's unhealthy. I'm getting rid of everything and everybody. That's
Mhm.
not, that's not love either. That's fear. That's ego. And so then it becomes this game, I guess, for me, is man, I really, really, really want to have an experience in this life that is genuine, that is balanced,
Mhm.
that is open. Um, I would like for my presence around people to be my own and not influenced by who they are. I would like to raise my children in a way that helps for them to understand their divinity. I would say that's been the biggest gift, is helping them see themselves, inviting them to see themselves. My son in 6th grade turned over a table.
Mm.
And, I actually ended up taking off work for 2 months early just to sit in class to see what was going on.
Mm.
And so he's doing his work, and the teacher comes around and says, Landon, check your work. This one's wrong. And he yells, don't call me stupid.
Mm.
And he's freaking out. The teacher is looking at me. I'm looking at her. I said, young man, she didn't say that. Well, that's what she meant. Are you
Mm.
sure about that? I said, I've been watching you for an hour. I see a lot of doodles on your page. It looks like you wrote the question down wrong. You have the right answer for the wrong question. You were distracted. Your teacher came up and pointed out that your answer was incorrect and to check your work. Not one time did she say you are stupid. And he looked at me because in that moment, I think he realized he translated something that he already thought to be true. So you think you're stupid. That's not coming from her. But you being distracted doesn't mean that you're stupid. So he had also created new definitions. Distraction equals stupid. Being wrong equals stupid. Her telling me I am incorrect equals stupid. Like, he had written a whole dictionary. We all do. This is what this means when this person says it, how, even though that's not real or true. It took me months to help him acknowledge that he had written a dictionary that was extremely hurtful to him. He wrote that. And mommy can't edit it. If you decide that hearing these words means that, I can't argue that. But I can invite you to ask yourself, why is that the only definition that is true for you? How do you know that how you've defined it is accurate? And that's when I started to help him see his thoughts. So if a thought comes across your head, does that mean that it's real?
Right.
No, it doesn't. Can you tell the difference between an untrue thought and a true thought?
Or that even the thought comes from you.
Yeah, yeah, because it could come from Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Right.
Our brains are so powerful, and this is what makes me excited about being the indweller, is because the body is its own system. It communicates with itself. I can influence it, but it self-regulates. It grows its own hair. It digests on its own. It releases waste on its own. It does everything to protect itself. Everything. Now, this is a mutual relationship, right? I don't bring prana into the body. That's the breath. I don't even keep this bad boy alive. Like, at the end of the day, the breath and the body are in concert. And it's like asking for the consciousness, when are you going to show up and be here with us? Right? The breath is here, the body is here. Where is spirit? Where's consciousness? Right? The fact that the body can make decisions at the cellular level. Up, this cell is no good, I'm going to let it go. Up, this food is no good, we're going to let it go. This body is tired, we're going to make you go to sleep. Like, this body has to release itself. I don't care how much Pepto-Bismol you eat. We're going to let it go, right? So we can try to stop things, but being the indweller of this body gives you an opportunity to really learn about what it means to live in concert, what it means to be present with what is there, what it means to be grateful for the influence that you do have access to. Like right now, if we wanted to raise our right hand and keep it raised, the body couldn't do anything about it. It follows our direction until it no longer does. And so when you have diseases like Parkinson's, where there are shifts in the state of the body, your consciousness cannot control your body. You can't will it away. You can't pray it away. None of those things work. Those moments is when you realize that you're not the body, that you really are the soul inside. And as the body changes or the breath changes, the only thing that you can hold on to is your awareness. And so as you practice, you will use it, right? It's like fueling a car. you can go really, really far, and then you got to refuel again. And so every time we move through life, we use a little bit of our energy, and we come back to sit, to refuel. And so I'll share a story with you, and then we can go into a very gentle practice, and then close out. There was a man, because the other thing is when you deepen your practice and things start to shift, people start to come to you, baby. People be like, oh, you're so kind, you're so compassionate, you're so loving. And they start to like, it feels good being this lighter version of yourself. And then you kind of like leak, you leak it out. You don't necessarily recycle it through and keep yourself full. You just give. And so there was this man in a village that made the best soup. And he made this pot of soup, and he hears a knock at the door, and it's his very best friend. And he says, hey, I smelled you made soup. Can I have some? And he said, of course, you're my best friend. He gets a big old bowl and fills it up. And the friend leaves completely full. And the man is happy that he was able to feed his friend. Moments later, he hears a knock at the door. And the guy says, hey, I'm a friend of your friend. And I heard that you make the best soup in town. And would you mind if I had a bowl? And the man was so enamored with the word kind of getting out that he makes this best soup. And he said, absolutely. He looks in the pot, and he had served his friend so much that he had to cut the new guest's bowl with a little bit of water. And he said, it's okay, thank you for feeding me. Moments later, here's another knock at the door. And it was a homeless man. And he says, I've heard that you are giving away soup. And it is the best soup, and I haven't eaten in days. Would you mind? He said, absolutely. He goes to his pot, and it's like herbs and corners. And so he fills the cauldron with water, and he tries to scrape everything around, and he gives the man this bowl of soup. It's not as big as the first or the second guest. And the homeless man takes a few spoonfuls, and he looks at him curiously like, this doesn't taste like soup at all. He drinks the salted water and goes on his way. And the man is left embarrassed that his legacy of being the best soup maker is now tainted, on top of the fact that his tummy is rumbling because he hadn't eaten himself. This path of meditation fills us up in so many ways. And we find ourselves giving ourselves away to people we love because we know that our bigger version, our better version is the best, and that's what they deserve access to. And it's not like we're trying to show them how to be, but oh my God, it feels so good to be this way with you. And then we go over here to our associates and we give it away there. And we give it away to strangers. And at some point, if we don't come back to feed ourselves and nourish ourselves, we have nothing to give, and we're scraping from an empty pot. And then we wonder why people aren't calling us kind or compassionate anymore. And then we wonder why it is that we feel like we're not the same, or we're searching for that teacher to give us that heart fix. We're searching for that class or that workshop to say the thing that gives us that feeling again, instead of coming back to sit and learning how to discern when to give away, how much to give away, understand our capacity, understand our habits and patterns, and how it is that we might even use our practice to feed our ego. I stopped teaching things for a bit because I got a big head. I am the source. I am not. I am the reminder. I'm not your teacher. You are your teacher. And so as you connect with your practice, you'll find moments where you're inspired to sit, Sometimes you'll feel completely full and like, I don't need to practice. You know, like you might have those moments where you feel different about your practice, but there's so many ways to be mindful, and that yoga and meditation isn't the sit, it isn't the asana, it is this, it is living. Yoga is all, it is all. Yoga asana is moving meditation. But what is an asana, right? If we made all of these things up, can we open ourselves up to acknowledge any physical movement is divine?
Yes.
Any 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 word I speak is a mantra if it's coming from the heart, right? Can we dissolve the rules and allow ourselves to live in that space and from that space? And so with that, Jatem, let's go there, to that space. Find yourself in whatever position is easiest for your breath to flow. Giving yourself the opportunity to be fully supported by what is around you, maybe grounding the feet onto the floor, and pressing the sits bones into your foundation. Observe your current state. How are you feeling? Where is your mind? And once you found your physical seat, begin to find your inner seat. In our or my lineage, we say the seat of the heart is in the seat of the mind is in the heart. And it is here that I am inviting you to go there and roam. You see, the heart space is a place where usually when we're joyful or we're upset, we clutch our heart center. When we're sad, we grab our heart. It's here that it makes sense that sadness and anger and frustration would come. Because where else would they go to soften? As you breathe into your heart space, you might feel different things. So if there are emotions lingering in that space, traumas or realities that seem to have found your heart space to be a bit of a Airbnb. Know that those feelings and even the memories that find itself living there are just guests. Anger and frustration and sadness are emotions. They are not of the heart. They can stick around in that space. They can loiter. But as they're there, they also can be blessed and released. because of the love energy that is innate and that is always there. But how do you remember that? How did Hanuman ever accomplish any of his goals, forgetting that he was divine and had magical powers? There was one very special word: faith. The belief that he could. So as you roam into your own heart space, be curious. What's sticking around? Let your breath be easy and smooth. Our practice gives us an opportunity to be okay with what arrives and what leaves. It gives us a way to remove the veils that shade our perception, that prevent us from seeing the light in others. It gives us an opportunity to use practical tools to stay present here now, doing the work of the here and the now, with the heart that is still. And so as life comes to us, we're able to not be beat up by it, but constantly reminded that we are living and that we are being. Feel your heart begin to expand. The love energy of it permeating through your body. So much so that it becomes true. The words, I am love. I am. Not only am I living in love and anchored in love, but I am love. And sometimes our love is attached. We think that this feeling of lightness and joy only happens when we physically sit and we are physically still. But that's not true. This sweetness and stillness and lightness is accessible every single moment of the rest of your life. When you walk, when you speak, when you're silent, when you share, when you work, when you protest, when you fight. Stillness is a lifestyle. And protecting that so that you can move mindfully from this heart center becomes the goal of investing in your practice. So you can use it all the time. Maybe that love energy begins to leak out and overflow. You might begin to feel it outside of you. And are you open to receiving and feeling the love energy that permeates from all other beings? Sometimes it's not a lot. Being a person of color these days and trying to do the work can be exhausting. But liberation is not going to require us to martyr ourselves and relinquish the joy and love of having a human experience, even if it's packaged in a Black or brown body. This work is not going to destroy us. One thing I've realized from working with love energy is acknowledging that hate is love turned in one direction. It's really hard to be mad at that. We call love in one direction hate. And hate has its own heavy, sinister, yucky, murky energy to it. But love turned in one direction feels a little different. I found myself at peace with those who keep love away from me, because that is out of fear. Fear from untrue thoughts. Fear from untruths given to them by people they love. How do I compete against that? I don't. I simply use their state as a mirror so I can look to see, who am I keeping love away from? Who do I hate and why? How can I ask anyone to do the work I have yet to do? Am I ready to sit in the reality of being taught to hate by someone I love? Can I experience moving love from one direction and having a more balanced approach? What does that feel like? Before I wag my finger, can I speak from experience of letting go of love in one direction? Can I liberate myself from the belief that I am above hate? Can I hold myself accountable for excusing hurtful and hateful patterns and habits? Am I courageous and brave enough? And what tools do I have in my meditation toolbox to help me fight this war against myself? Liberation starts within. It begins with surrender. If you don't know who you are, if you can never remember you have gifts and talents to be bigger, and whatever that means in a moment, I don't wish to be free, so I am free to hurt others. I don't want to take their spot. I don't want that power. I want all who are breathing to have access to living consciously and not be confused by emotions or thoughts. Slowly begin to bring yourself back, je t'aime. Using your breath, anchor you into your body. Wiggling your toes and fingers. Licking your lips and swallowing. Slowly opening your eyes if you like. And I'll leave you with this poem. It's called The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Nothing in life is meant to consume us or to take us out. Never forget that we have a way to get bigger, that we have a practice to ground us, and we don't have to float away on hurtful thoughts and misunderstandings, and that we can live consciously from our heart always. But we gotta come back, we gotta refuel, we have to be wise about what we share, how, and with whom. Taking your hands together in prayer and your thumbs to your third eye. May your thoughts be kind and compassionate. Bringing your thumbs to your lips, may your words be honest and true. And taking your hands to your heart, may you live and carry with you love. Thank you so much for practicing with me this evening, Jatem. Om
Yes.
Shanti Shanti, peace, peace, peace.
Namaste.
Ashe. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you. That was a blessing. Thank you so much.
All right, good night.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.